Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia, and producer Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game, is here. We appreciate everyone for tuning in for this Thursday edition of the show. Should be a really fun one. We got a lot of topics that I'm excited to dive into, some fun lists to break down, some legacy discussions. We talk a little bit about LeBron James and ring culture in sports as well. I actually am really excited to hear your takes on that, guys. If you're enjoying the content, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season. I feel like that's in play for us right now. I feel like 2.5 months to add about, 800, 750 subscribers. We should be able to do this. So we appreciate all you guys again for listening. Best thing you could do for us, just tell a friend. Tell a friend about the show. If you like it, send it over to a friend. Say, what do you think? And if they write back, hey, these guys suck. Well, we tried. That's the very worst thing that happens is some guys say we suck. And at the end of the day, that happens from time to time. All right. So, Ziggy, first off, I want to throw it over to you. How is everything in California? You doing well there? It looks like you got a new background. I'm at the beach. It's beautiful outside. I can hear the waves from the studio. I mean, it's pretty good to be here. How close are you actually to the beach? I'm not kidding. If the window is open, I can hear the waves. Are you serious? I'm 100% serious. Dude, wow, that's awesome. I need to get to a beach soon. It's starting to get to that point in the summer. Come out here to California. Yeah, maybe I'll come visit. Bedroom for you. It's always nicer wherever you are. If you have some water nearby, it just makes everything feel so much nicer. We've had quite a few rainy days in a row. I believe that it's supposed to start getting sunny here in New Jersey. So I can't wait to start getting into pool weather. Well, the official slogan of the city that I'm in right now is the world's best climate. Are you serious? The world's best climate is the sunshine. The lowest are the 60s. The highest is about 75. Wait, where are you right now? What city are you? San Clemente. My goodness. All right, yeah, maybe I do need to come out there. Zach, should we get on a plane tomorrow and fly out for the weekend, San Clemente? Yeah, let's do it. The old studio we had, for people who remember, we used to have a pool right there. It was Zach's grandma's house. We were operating out of the basement of Zach's grandma's house. Really nice house, really great place. And we used to finish up the show and just go swimming. It was awesome. We don't quite have that anymore. I guess we have a brook in my backyard we could dive into, but that might be a little less comfortable. So, all right. Speaking of good weather, down in sunny Florida, I do just want to shout out the Florida Panthers, back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. That was look, as far as my rooting interests go, I picked up the Florida Panthers about 3 years ago because my younger cousin Stephanie was becoming a huge fan before they went on this first Stanley Cup run. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get closer to my cousin. I'm going to start cheering for this team. What a great decision. I mean, when you talk about the teams I root for, constant misery and heartbreak over and over and over again. And I'm watching the Panthers, Ziggy, last night with my dad, and he looks over and goes, man, thank God. Thank God we started rooting for the Panthers. We get a taste of success. And my cousin has no idea how lucky she is. Starts rooting for a team, Stanley Cup final, championship. Just can you make her a Vikings fan? I need to. That actually could be maybe Stephanie is the key right there. But what an awesome start. It's like you're a Boston sports fan, right? Growing up in the 2010s, just you win all the time. So it was nice. I'm excited for when my real teams, the teams I grew up with, can win. But this could hold me over a little bit and the misery. You saw Matthew Tkachuk was talking about they're a dynasty now. And my dad and I got into a debate about what actually isn't a dynasty. It's do you guys think 2 championships and a third appearance in the final in 3 years, does that qualify as a dynasty to you? No. See, I'm inclined to say no, because I've seen a lot of people talking about they're doing it in the salary cap era of the NHL. But almost 9 out of the past 15 championships in the NHL have been part of a back-to-back run for a team or better. It's very hard for me with almost every champion is doing it. Like, the thing that makes a dynasty different, I think, is they do something that very few other franchises are able to do. Right? You look at what the Chiefs have done, what the Patriots did, like in the NFL, for example, or like the Celtics and the Lakers, their dynasties, like they dominated. If a lot of teams are winning back-to-back championships, it's a huge accomplishment, but I don't think it makes you a dynasty if you're doing something that's not super uncommon. I kind of think you need 3. I think you around 3 championships, it just depends on the sport. Or maybe a little longer. I think the Panthers are close. So they get back there next year.
now we're starting to talk about, all right, 4 finals in 4 years, or even if they get to the conference finals, I think they need one more really, really good season to start throwing around dynasty. Probably at least one more championship, but maybe that will come up later in the show. Just hinting at something. Connor McDavid, and this is the last thing. This is not. We're not going to go on about hockey here. I'm just saying Connor McDavid now 2 years in a row losing in the Stanley Cup final. If you don't watch hockey, and I don't really watch a ton of hockey, I watch the playoffs. You watch Connor McDavid play, and the dude's unbelievable. He's so much fun to watch. Like by far the best player in the league, and everyone talks about him like that. But it made me start to think, okay, this guy still has no championships, right? So
and he's been terrible in the Stanley Cup finals,
really bad. And I'm sure he's solid, but for his standards,
by his standards, right? I'm not saying he was like a terrible player, but he didn't contribute. This was not like him trying to put the team on his back and being totally let down.
Well, they were showing graphics about him compared to the other hockey greats who have played 10 seasons and had the accolades that he has, and like Gretzky had won 3 or 4 Stanley Cup, maybe 5 or so. I can't remember how many it was, and McDavid's still at 0. And I started thinking, I'm watching Get Up, and they ran this segment on the top 5 athletes in sports currently playing who have not won a ring, and I thought it was a really clever segment. I'm like, all right, we're stealing that for the show. So I think here's my list, Ziggy, and let me know if you think that this is good. I have at number 5. At number 5, I was between a couple guys. I think Mike Trout would get on here if we're talking like all-time players. You know what I mean? But as far as like where he's at right now, he just wouldn't make that list.
So I'm a little bit confused. We're looking at how good are they now when they don't have a championship?
That's what I was going by. Like, who are the 5 best players in their sports who haven't won a ring yet? Or were you going?
Okay, so I was thinking that guys like Chris Paul would be high up there because they were incredible players, but never got a ring.
Interesting. Okay, so we'll have 2 different lists here, but it's still. I mean, that could be a fun way to break it down. Okay. I think among the active players, the debate I had was for 5 between Luka Doncic and Justin Jefferson. Actually, like I think Justin Jefferson, Myles Garrett, Joe Burrow, those football guys are so good. But I'm going to put Luka at number 5. At 4, Lamar Jackson, back-to-back MVP, or not back-to-back, but 2 MVPs. Last year could have been an MVP. Josh Allen, number 3. I think he's better than Lamar a little bit right now, coming off his MVP season. 2, I have Aaron Judge. I just think Judge, man, we're talking about an all-time Yankee and all-time seasons that he's having, also coming off an MVP. And then 1, I have McDavid, who is by far the best player in NHL. None of those dudes with rings right now, which is kind of crazy when you're talking about McDavid and Judge, who are already legendary players in their sports, still chasing down that trophy. So who do you have? It sounds like you have more of the like legacy who doesn't have a ring.
Also, it was a little bit of a mix, right? So I'm not including players that are like terrible and are sort of hanging on, like Patrick Peterson, for instance. Like, I don't know if he's going to be on a team next year, but like he wouldn't be in here.
I don't think Patrick Peterson would be on that list.
No. Well, so there's one player. I was a little bit surprised to see this actually, because the player I think sort of the best NFL player without a ring didn't even make your list. At number 5, I'm putting TJ Watt.
Oh, TJ Watt. TJ Watt falls in that same category.
Watt is going to go down as like one of the best players at his position in history.
I think TJ falls in that same. I think
people have forgotten that he's a guy who just like he never got a ring. He never even got very close, but he's so good.
So I'm not sure what I think of your list right now. If you're going off of best like careers players not to have a ring, I don't think TJ Watt would make that top 5.
What you're gonna say is something like he doesn't have MVPs, but MVPs he had no chance of winning an MVP. He set an NFL record for sacks in a season, and there wasn't a sniff of an MVP conversation because of his position. I don't care about stuff like that.
Okay, so you got him at 5.
If you're going to put like TJ Watt is a much better all-time linebacker than Lamar Jackson is an all-time quarterback.
Well, we will see about that by the end of it. By the end of this, we will see about that. Okay, so TJ Watt's 5 for you. Who's 4?
Number 4, I've got James Harden.
Okay.
Number 3, I've got Chris Paul.
Yep.
So this is where it starts to get tricky.
So now Trout has to be in your top 2.
Yeah, Mike Trout's at number 2.
Okay. Sorry,
who do you think I've got at number 1?
Who do you have at number 1 across all 4 sports? Oh man, the number one dude. I'm assuming it's not NBA, right? There's no one in the. Can you think, Zach, off the top of your head, any NBA guys right now? I don't think anyone would be over Chris Paul. Football. I don't know. I can't think.
I can only think of Chris Paul in the NBA.
I'm trying to think of any quarterbacks. I don't think any quarterbacks currently.
The other one that comes to mind is Phillip Rivers, but he's not in the leagues anymore.
I feel like Ziggy's gonna pull out. So if it's an NHL guy, I have no idea. Who is it?
It's McDavid.
Oh. Yeah, okay. That makes total sense. Yep.
I mean, McDavid, there's the playoff disappointments have been huge. And I'm not saying that, not having a ring doesn't mean being one of the best players not having a ring doesn't mean you played incredibly in the finals. It just means you're the best player without a ring. This guy is one of the GOATs of the sport.
Yeah, legitimately. He is one of the best players to ever play the hockey.
Mike Trout is too. And I mean, I think it's telling that one reason I don't want to put football quarterbacks in here, or I'm more hesitant to, is I think football quarterbacks have so much more control over whether or not they win a championship than like a linebacker. Or, I mean, NBA players obviously have a lot of control, but it's very hard for me to look at somebody like Chris Paul and say, man, you just had to play better basketball. Chris Paul actually in all-time legacy conversations gets screwed, I think. People forget just how good this guy was for so long in such a competitive era of NBA history because he doesn't have a ring. I mean, the guy have 9 all-defensive teams and 9 all-NBA teams. Sorry, 11 all-NBA teams.
How many first teams?
He was so good.
How many first teams does he have? Can you see that?
He has 4 first teams and 5 second teams.
Yeah. No, I mean, amazing player.
He's playing in an era with many of the best guards to play in NBA history. He's getting first teams.
Well, he
did it for so long too.
I mean, that's the whole. Do you want to get into it now? Or you want to push it off till a little later? The LeBron.
Let's do it now.
I mean, we may as well, right? Like, we could do whatever we want here. That's the interesting thing about the LeBron ring culture debate that he brought up on his Mind the Game podcast with Steve Nash. Steve Nash is just on that show with him now, right? That's just how it is. They were talking about ring culture in the NBA. And he said, I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport and why it's the end all be all of everything. And he went on to bring up, Iverson and Barkley in the NBA. And he went to other sports and said, it's like saying Peyton Manning can't be in the same room with Brady or Mahomes because he only has 2 rings. But
people say that.
Or telling me that Dan Marino is not the greatest slinger of all time, but he can't be in the room with those guys because he didn't win championships. Did Barry Bonds win a World Series? I don't think so. You can't sit here and tell me he's not the greatest baseball player to ever touch a bat.
He's not.
I don't understand where it came from. Don't know where it started. I just hope that we appreciate more what guys have been able to accomplish. And I think he's partially right, as so many situations are. I think he's partially right and partially wrong. And it's funny reflecting on LeBron James's career, right? And what he's done. You're going to Miami to win championships and chasing Jordan. And that's been the whole conversation of his entire career. From the time he stepped on the basketball court, is the expectation for LeBron James was, will he surpass Michael Jordan? Will he be Michael Jordan? And that's everything LeBron's done is sort of up until the Lakers, I think, until he moved to the Lakers, was to win championships. And he won one with the Lakers too. But that move to me was more about him moving there with his family, wanting to get more involved in Hollywood. And I get what he's saying. Like, I understand that side of LeBron. Like, all right, can we respect these guys more who haven't won? But at the same time, right, Ziggy, like Dan Marino, we all agree that Dan Marino is a great quarterback. A lot of people have him in the top 10 of all time. A lot of people have Charles Barkley. Most people have him in the top 20 basketball players. Like, in the context of ranking these greatest players of all time, I do think that, of course, you need to have individual accolades and statistics be part of the conversation. But at the same time, winning matters. Like that's the end goal of these sports, is to win games. That's what you play for. And among all these guys that we're talking here, they all have unbelievable stats. If you're going to talk about the greatest ever, they will all have great statistics. But winning is what makes you legendary. Like, that's what makes you timeless to me.
The greatest player to never win a championship is just that.
Yeah.
They're not the greatest player, full stop. You have to add something there.
100%.
Look, I mean, it's even if your impact is limited, if you're really transcendentally great, you can usually find a way to get it done at some point during your career, even if it's just one, right? Like you look at someone like Willie Mays, who's clearly the best baseball player of all time. I'm sorry, LeBron. He won one, and it was relatively early in his career, but he found a way to get it done. If you're good for 20 plus years, 15 plus years, like these all-time greats are, you look at Peyton. He went to the Super Bowl with 4 different head coaches and 4 different offensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. He was a one-man offense. If you are good enough, you will eventually get it done in almost every case. Now, there are, of course, weird exceptions. Like I think about Dan Marino in the Super Bowl when the Dolphins had 8 rushing attempts and 50 passing attempts, and they had to face the 49ers at peak dynasty. Like, I get it. But if you're good enough long enough, you should at some point be able to find a way to win a championship, or at least go somewhere that'll let you.
Well, and the other thing too, you just brought up Willie Mays. Like, think about, as I said a second ago, right? Winning is what makes you legendary. Think about Willie Mays in the World Series, the catch, right? Michael Jordan, the shot in Utah. You had Brady with the comeback against Atlanta, LeBron's block, Jeter hitting walk-off and home runs in the World Series, like, or having walk-off hits. Like, that's what makes these guys who they are. In the biggest moments, they deliver. And that's the difference. And like, we can always appreciate, we can appreciate Jerry West. What 9 finals, right? Or something like that LeBron brought him up. Jerry West is an unbelievable basketball player. And Elgin unfortunately, Baylor. Elgin Baylor too. I mean, these are great players. But at the end of the day, they ran into Bill Russell's teams. That's Bill Russell. That's why he's the guy, because he won those games. And sure, you could say like the teams were a lot better, but that's the difference between the very, very, very top and the guys who are at the very, very top. It's winning these games. That's what you're remembered for, because that's the goal. It's like a great salesman, right? A great salesman who doesn't complete the deal. And this might be a little bit going too far into it, but you could be personable. You work well with everyone, but if you don't close the deal, you're not the best. And
I mean, I think Elgin Baylor is a great example. The dude made 10 All-NBA first teams. 10.
Yeah.
If he had won a couple of championships, he'd be the guy who gets brought up as well. He's an all-time great player. Maybe he's the GOAT. You'd have people saying that, but because he lost in the finals 8 times.
And there is a degree of things being unfair, like of that being unfair. Like you look at Jerry West should be more highly regarded amongst people, but like winning should matter. Winning should be the biggest piece of criteria we have, because that's the goal of the sport. So,
see, I don't think winning needs to be the biggest piece of the criteria, but it's got to be something.
Yeah, again, you're right. Like, maybe Willie not the biggest.
He won 1 World Series in 24 All-Star years.
You're right. Maybe not the biggest. Once. Yeah, not the biggest, but it has to be part of the formula. And that's where I think LeBron would also agree on that. I think he was just on a pedestal.
I mean, LeBron is annoyed correctly that in NBA discussions, it's not something that gets brought up later. I mean, I see this all the time. So you immediately go to rings.
Yeah.
Like people think, I'm serious. If you talk to kids, I talk to middle schoolers sometimes because I teach them. I talk to college undergraduates because I teach them. They think that like James Harden is a bum who was never any good at basketball and just got sort of lucky to be considered as good as he was.
Yeah.
They don't think of him as one of the greatest scorers in history. Like it or loathe how he did it. He was one of the best scorers in the history of the NBA.
Well, he's
really one Chris Paul injury away from beating the Warriors and being a champion. But he didn't.
I mean, he's also had some horrendous playoff moments. And that's what I mean when I go back to like the legendary guys show up in the biggest moments. Like they just do across the boards, all of them.
You know what I thought about?
Yeah, but I mean, he had multiple great runs with Houston. I think 2015. I know that 2018, the way the series closed was bad, but again, the absence of Chris Paul was so devastating. They were going to win.
What are you saying, Zach?
Does Derrick Rose have a ring? I know it's kind of just
no.
He doesn't have a ring, right?
No, but Derrick Rose is
I feel like he's
the most overrated player in any sport in the history of sports.
That's tough.
The most overrated of all time.
He won a charity case MVP, and that's it. Otherwise, he has no resume.
There are you could hear people screaming in Chicago right now. The Chicago people, the love for Derrick Rose in Chicago, that's up there with how much any city loves any athlete, is the way they talk about Derrick Rose. I mean, it makes sense, right? You grew up there.
He made one All-NBA team for you. Way to go, guys. Look, people like to believe that if he hadn't gotten injured, he would have been one of the all-time greats. Maybe it's even true, but he wasn't. He had one good season. He got an MVP that's maybe the most unjust MVP in any sport in history because they were tired of voting for LeBron. There was no case for it, and that's that. I don't usually get up here and say things that sound incredibly dramatic and like clickbait. The 2010-2011 NBA MVP is a genuine injustice.
The point guards like that, you're right. The physically dominant, the like vertically unbelievable point guards, like what, John Morant, Russell Westbrook, John Wall, some of these guys. I think Westbrook is actually an outlier here, but they typically seem to fade quicker. And that's probably what happened. That's kind of what happened with Derrick Rose. Unfortunately, that is ended immediately with the knee injuries. I remember watching that game. That was horrible. That game was over when he got hurt. That was brutal. People
do not want to admit that Derrick Rose is probably, his legacy objectively is not going to end up being any better than John Morant's will. Maybe a little better.
Well, we'll see. It depends if John Morant gets thrown out of the league for something. That's John Morant.
This is why we're not a basketball show. I'm starting to see where the like Stephen A. Smith energy comes from, because when you start talking about basketball, you just start wanting to say stuff. Like football, we can be calm, collected. We could talk about facts, but there's something. Maybe this is what LeBron's actually.
No, the legacy conversation in basketball it's way more entertaining than the legacy conversations in football.
And it's weird in basketball, like during the playoffs, all people talk about is legacy in the NBA, basically.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's so weird. It's like we've got playoff games going on, and all people want to talk about is like LeBron versus Jordan.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. And it's, if SGA wins, is he his best point guard? It's like, all right, let's move on. Let's get off NBA. But it's an interesting conversation topic, nonetheless. Like how people, because everyone has their own subjectivity to these things. So. All right, let's go on. There was some major news in the NFL today. We'll get back to our bread and butter. Jaire Alexander has signed with the Baltimore Ravens. Mike Garofalo, he reported that the contract is 1 year, $4 million with $2 million in incentives. The incentive package is based on playtime bonuses, $500,000, not bad, for hitting 35, 40, 45, and 50% of the team snaps. Great deal for Baltimore. Really high upside deal here for the Ravens. Great fit. We talked about Jaire. You said, Ziggy, that his cornerback one days were probably behind him. But here in Baltimore, I mean, he slides in really nicely to a loaded secondary that now has Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins himself, and of course the safeties, Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks. They just drafted him. This defense now in Baltimore, this team in Baltimore now, I know a couple days ago, we talked about the vulnerability of the Ravens, and I think I had them, it might have been second on the list for most vulnerable division winners. And I think that is with respect to Joe Burrow, of course, given that he's one of the top four quarterbacks in that elite category. He can go off and he can take the division. That's still in play. But the Ravens are just on paper much, much better than Cincinnati. Like we have to start looking at this Ravens team as, we know that they're a Super Bowl contender, but this may be the best chance the Ravens have had to win the Super Bowl in the Lamar Jackson era this season.
Well, one reason I think that Jaire Alexander signing is really important is because while you listed off a bunch of great names for the Ravens, and they do have those names, the defense really did struggle last year, particularly in the secondary.
They needed help.
They started to turn it around towards the end of the season, but especially the first 2 months. Mike McDonald, he took that defense with him to Seattle. The Ravens defense was not very good. And a large part of that was that the zone defense that they'd been known for, in particular, their ability to present mismatches and to have big playmakers, that wasn't there for a lot of last year. Now, as I see it, we talked about this as the Packers were deciding whether to keep Jaire or not. As a cornerback, too, in a zone-heavy scheme, which is what the Ravens will be bringing next year, even if he's not as athletic as he used to be, this is still a guy of incredible ball skills. This is a guy with incredible instincts. And I think he'll fit really well into what the Ravens want to do. Now, the deal is interesting. You said it's a great deal, and it is. I guarantee you the Packers offered Jaire Alexander more money than this.
Had to have. Because they were on the rope for 17, right?
Yeah. There's no way that they capped it out at like 5.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
Jaire Alexander did what I didn't think he would do. When the Packers left, I figured he was going to try and sign a big deal elsewhere, but I think that market dried up. This is a deal that makes a lot of sense if Jaire wants to sign a big 3-year deal next year and collect a paycheck, because I think he's going to look very good in Baltimore. Jaire,
it's a great point.
I mean, I think he's going to be productive. There's no doubt about it. But I take this as a signal that despite the outward appearances, and I got fooled by it, he really was done with Green Bay if they weren't willing to pay him close to that full salary.
Well, I mean, I can't blame you.
Lamar. Well, I'm surprised on the face of it that he's turning down more money in Green Bay to go to Baltimore. I really thought that he wanted to stick with the team because he was connecting with the rookies. He was saying all the right things, but it looks like things just turned sour at the end. And he wanted a fresh start.
That's probably what happened there too. But I think what you mentioned a moment ago also has some truth to it, that if Jaire's sitting down looking at the situation, going to Baltimore, A, gives him a chance to win right now. Like this, as we just said, this team's loaded. But 2, he should be really good here because he has less pressure on him. In Green Bay, he's cornerback 1. Like all the attention is on him. In Baltimore, that's not the case. He's got a lot of help back there. And I think you're right in that if he has a decent season, in the long run, he may be looking at more money potentially than if he was with the Packers. Now, if he was with Green Bay and had a shutdown cornerback 1 season, obviously he's getting a huge deal. But there's a world where he comes out of this better. Yeah, there's a world where he comes out of this in a better situation than if he had stayed with Green Bay. Who knows if that's actually, like, that feels like a pretty intense, like, 3D chess move from Jaire if that was his decision making. But
no, that's not crazy. I want to go where I can play best this year to try and sign a big deal in 2026. You
are setting some ego aside though. If that was the goal, you're setting some ego aside there.
I'm not so sure.
I don't know if you go to the Raiders or wherever you go, if you're the number 1 cornerback, like there are a lot of guys I think that would be, I want to be the guy. Like this is what it came down to. Like I want to be the guy, then I want to get paid like the guy. If he goes to Baltimore and has a great year, I'm not sure he'll get paid like a number 1 cornerback ever again in his career. I mean, unless if he's just unbelievable.
No, but I think he can get paid a good cornerback 2 salary.
Yeah.
Jaire's always been about the money.
This feels like a smart, you're right. This is a smart move from him and from Baltimore to me. And I'm serious, Ziggy, when I said that a moment ago, I know I said this might be, but no, this is the best chance the Ravens have had to win the Super Bowl in the Lamar Jackson era. From top to bottom, Lamar Jackson is at peak form, where he's coming off a first year over 4,000 yards. People, when we reflect on his year, and remember Josh Allen won MVP, Lamar had 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Like that is as elite as it gets. I mean, he's at the peak of his game. Derrick Henry ran for 1,900 yards. Doesn't look like he's slowing down. The weapons are the best they've ever been. We just said the defense is ready to go. Like this is the time for Baltimore. I'm not sure it will ever get better than this. Kansas City, I know they had some more weapons coming back with Rashee Rice returning, Hollywood Brown, but the offensive line got a bit weaker. I'm not picking against Kansas City probably until I have to. This is what I've been on the entire run here. Is you can't pick against them until they lose. But if there was ever a year for Baltimore to do it, I know you're 14-2 in 2019. I know in 2023 you had the 13-4 year. You're hosting the championship. But this is the best team. And this is the best Lamar, I think, as well. And that means something. So I think it's time for the Ravens. It's funny that them and the Bills are both in this situation of like, now's the time. Now's the time. Like you have 2 teams with this mentality, but I think it's true.
I totally agree. And if you look at the way their off seasons went, I think I'm happier about the way things went for the Ravens and the way things went for the Bills.
Definitely.
Not the Bills had like a terrible off season, but Joey Bosa's already hurt. I don't think Tre'Davious White is like a huge steal from the Ravens. What?
I know I feel bad for Bosa. The Bosa brothers get hurt all the time.
I'm not here trying to like dunk on him or whatever, but he's not going to be productive this year. We all know it. Mm-hmm. And actually, I mean, ask yourself this, right? Like the big departure from Baltimore this offseason, really the only departure that played a significant number of snaps from them on the defensive side was Brandon Stevens. I would not be shocked at all to see Jaire Alexander have a better season than Brandon Stevens.
Well, no, if you listen to Baltimore, I'm not super plugged into the Ravens scene, but Brandon Stevens did not have a very good year. Like Baltimore fans were not happy with Brandon Stevens at all.
No, and I think
this is a big upgrade.
Incredible.
This is a big upgrade.
Yeah. You bring in Malachi Starks, you bring in Mike Green from Marshall. You've got like the whole edge rusher program they've had as a bunch of guys growing up.
I think Chidobe Awuzie is back there now too in the secondary, and he's going to be acting as your cornerback 4. Like I understand that he has some bouncing back to do, but if there's a place to do it, it's Baltimore. I mean, they are so well run. They do all the things that I wish the Vikings would do. Where it's like, they drafted Hamilton and they signed Henry.
It's always about Kyle Hamilton. It is always about Kyle Hamilton.
They signed Jaire. Like all the moves I want, literally all 3 of those. If you told me the Vikings did it, especially given the time period that they did it, it was like, yeah, the Vikings could use the safety. Yeah, the Vikings could use the running back. Yeah, the Vikings could use the cornerback. And Baltimore always gets it done. Now, I'm not complaining too much about the Vikings. Like we've done a really, really good job. Kwesi's done an excellent job building us back into a contender, and we'll see what happens with JJ. But it's just, Baltimore takes advantage of these opportunities, and it often works out for them. And
this is why several sports books have the Ravens as the favorite to win the Super Bowl next year.
And it's ultimately going to come down to what winds up happening when they get to the playoffs there, when they go against Allen, when they go against Mahomes, and if Burrow's able to get back. Like these guys, these duels that they have, the games are often unbelievable too. It's not like you have someone blowing the other one out. It's always down to the wire. And last year they couldn't make the play. Mark Andrews dropped the pass. And that's in the AFC Championship game, the Bills couldn't get the first down. Now some people might debate that, but that's what it comes down to in these moments with these great quarterbacks. Is often 1 or 2 plays going the other way. The Ravens had the turnovers and against Buffalo, probably could have won and maybe should have won that game. But, it's one game. And that's the fun part about the NFL is it's one game playoff, single elimination. You have a bad day, you're out. Now, I do want to bring up, we've kind of like legacy and that sort of thing has been a theme of today's show right off the bat. We talked about Matthew Stafford a couple shows back and what he could do by winning another Super Bowl for his legacy. He'd have a lot of stats, top 5 or top 6, I think, in both touchdown passes and passing yards probably by the end of his career. And we mentioned Colin Cowherd said that he thinks Stafford has the most to gain legacy-wise of anyone in the league over the next few years. And I'm not totally sure it's true. I like Stafford has a chance with the second Super Bowl to vault himself up. But I do think, Ziggy, that if Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl, I don't think I'd put him in there just yet, but I guarantee you the conversation of Lamar Jackson being a top 10 quarterback ever will start. I guarantee you that will be an ESPN, Fox Sports topic is Lamar Jackson a top 10 quarterback of all time? And when you look at it, I think he still would be a little bit off. But when you look at the numbers, like he'd be one of 10 quarterbacks ever to have multiple MVPs. He'd probably have another unbelievable year, I'm assuming, if Baltimore made the Super Bowl. So now we're talking 3 first-team All-Pros. Maybe he adds another one onto that. I mean, like the Lamar legacy question, Fox Sports top 10 QBs was Brady, Montana, Peyton, Mahomes, Elway, top 5. 6 through 10, Rodgers, Bradshaw, Favre, Breeze, Marino. Then you got a bunch of guys that, you have Unitas, Otto Graham, Staubach, Sammy Baugh, Bart Starr, the older guys there. So with the Super Bowl, 2 MVPs, the best running quarterback in the history of the sport, I think it probably starts to become a conversation.
I think that's true. A lot of people talk. One question you get all the time is if Lamar Jackson retired today, would he make the Hall of Fame?
Like the question I asked you the other day.
Well, yeah, but people ask this sort of stuff all the time, right? Yeah. But there are not a lot of quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame without Super Bowls. I mean, there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame in general. There's 26, and only 5 of them don't have a ring.
Damn ring culture.
Farrington, Warren Moon, Dan Marino, who you mentioned, Dan Fouts, and Jim Kelly. It's very hard to get in the Hall of Fame as a quarterback without a Super Bowl. And Lamar, you're right. There's nobody like him. He's got unbelievable rushing stats. He's transformed the game. But I think a Super Bowl is the difference between being a first ballot Hall of Famer and having to wait a little bit while some other guys from his era, like potentially Josh Allen, like Patrick Mahomes, guys from previous eras like Ken Anderson, who really should be in.
Well, not Mahomes, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Burrow.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying there's a backlog, right? I'm not saying he's going to get in earlier than Mahomes if he gets a championship. That's not what I'm saying. But if you slot in Mahomes as he's going in first ballot guaranteed, and they might retire in the same year, right? That's not a ridiculous thought. At a certain point, a backlog starts building up. Guys like Stafford. I mean, honestly, as Lamar Jackson is he that much better than Cam Newton legacy-wise? Now, again, you can point to the stats, and I think there's a lot of reasons
with the Super Bowl.
Yes.
With the Super Bowl or without?
Without a Super Bowl.
Oh, that's the whole thing. Yeah, this is like the Super Bowl changes things. This is our whole ring culture. The Super Bowl does change that. Yeah.
Well, but it's not just ring culture either. If you look at Lamar in the playoff losses, I mean, Josh Allen will always have the 13 seconds game, where he played as perfect a game as you can ask from a quarterback, and they lost. Lamar in the losses has often been mediocre. People point to you said that there haven't been a lot of blowouts. Buffalo blew him out in 2021. No touchdowns, a couple of fumbles. Well, only one fumble when it was recovered. 0 touchdowns and interception. You look at the Buffalo game last year, Lamar's turnovers doomed them. You look at the Kansas City game, Lamar's turnovers doomed them.
Sort of. I mean, I don't know. Zay Flowers had a huge fumble. Andrews dropped. There were a lot
of problems. Yeah. But when you're putting up 10 points, 3 points, 12 points in playoff losses, that's going to come back to the quarterbacking. You look at who they've actually beaten in the playoffs. It's the AFC South, the Titans and the Houstons, and a bad Pittsburgh team.
Yeah, and the bad Pittsburgh.
It's tough to give them a lot of credit for that. And this is the thing that's tough if you're Lamar Jackson. At this point in the regular season, I think there's basically nothing he can do to improve his legacy. His regular season legacy is about as good as it gets. Now, he can win another MVP. He can get some more All-Pro votes, and that's good. But fundamentally, Lamar has proven that he's one of the most successful quarterbacks of all time in terms of regular season production on a yearly basis.
Yeah, I mean, unless he wins 5 MVPs, we start getting crazy on the MVPs. But what does he win? Hasn't he won 75% of his games? These are the records of Lamar Jackson, guys. So he played 7 games started in 2018 as a rookie. He was 6-1. And since then, it's been 13-2, 11-4, 7-5, 8-4, where he missed the games. Then he's come back since then, 13-3, 12-5. He's 70-24. That's an amazing record over the course of 7 years.
3-5 in the playoffs.
And 3-5 in the playoffs. No, you're totally right. Lamar has reached the point now, and he might win another MVP or 2. I mean, he's 28. This is age 28 season.
Yeah. But that will not fundamentally change how people see him.
No, unless he gets to 4 or 5. If he wins multiple more MVPs, I think that changes things. When you have 4 or 5 MVP trophies now.
Sure.
Yeah, but you need to win. You do need to win. You need to win.
Next year, the only thing Lamar Jackson can really do to affect his legacy, barring the unbelievable, which could happen from him. Maybe he's a 2,000 yards rusher for all I know. The only thing Lamar Jackson can do is win a playoff game or 2 against a good team. And again, I'm not saying this doesn't mean Lamar is good. Lamar might never do that and still be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But Lamar clearly wants to be remembered as one of the greats. And ultimately, this era has a lot of very good quarterbacks. There's Joe Burrow, there's Josh Allen, there's Lamar. But if you never, ever beat the best in the playoffs, and besides Joe Burrow, none of them have really done it. And Joe Burrow didn't get it done ultimately against the Rams. He had a chance for a game-winning drive, and Aaron Donald said, "Ring me."
But this is what we're talking about, right? At the very beginning of the show. Aaron Donald, top 10 defensive player ever. Top 5 if you ask some people. Had the moment, right? He ran pointing at his ring. You can see that in your head. Same thing with Mahomes and Lamar. Look, Mahomes, when he gets the ball in overtime, he scores a touchdown every single time. Like that's
except the time
except the time against the Bengals. Except against the Bengals, yes. But that's what we're talking about here with why these big moments mean more to your legacy. You remember those moments and you remember winning. And that's what Lamar needs to do now. And it's crazy because the Stafford thing is if Stafford wins another Super Bowl, I think we could probably rule out an MVP season for Stafford. Maybe not. I mean, he could win an MVP, but I'd be surprised.
He just won't.
But let's say, another Super Bowl for Stafford, and we start talking about him as, oh yeah, like he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. And maybe. If Lamar wins a Super Bowl, he has a chance to start entering the greatest ever. He's not better than Brady, but
if he beats Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in these playoffs, he will start showing up in lots of folks' top 10 lists.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like the greatest, the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time conversation. Like that's what Lamar has that chance. And you know what? To be fair, Josh Allen does. If Josh Allen has an MVP and Super Bowl season, like that 2 MVPs and a Super Bowl when they're 28 years old, that leaves the door open for you to really, really lift yourself up those lists.
Yeah, but this is the thing. And I think what's so interesting about the fact that the Bills and the Ravens seem to often be playing each other in the playoffs is Patrick Mahomes is going to get hits. I don't think he's done winning. Joe Burrow might be able to, like, whatever. I really think only one of Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes at most is going to be able to get it done. And I mean, even last year when it felt like the Chiefs were as vulnerable as could be, neither of them were able to do it. There's only so many years because they're all about the same age. There's only so many years you get mortality from Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
And
ultimately, what a championship represents, even if it's just one, is there was some time where you stepped up and beat the best at their own game, or at least did as good as could possibly be asked of you. This is why 21 out of the 26 Hall of Fame quarterbacks have a ring, right? Like if you're Joe Namath, Broadway Joe can be an absolute merchant. He can be totally fraudulent, but 1 or 2 times he stepped up and got it done, and that's all you need for a legacy.
Yeah, it's a guarantee. Like that again, we go back to it. All these guys, like that's the moment. The Joe Namath.
No one will remember all the times Drew Brees came up short, and there were a lot of times.
Well, we don't need to get into
because he was a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, we all remember him lifting the trophy, but it's the fraudulent trophy. It's the trophy that never should have happened. It's the. I'd go so far to say it's
Eli
criminal.
Manning gets put in Hall of Fame conversations. A guy who's a career 500 quarterback because unlike anybody else, it was magical. When he faced the best somehow on 2 runs, he faced prime Tom Brady and looked him in the eyes and said, "I'm better than you." And somehow it was true.
And he's we talked about Jim Marshall, Vikings legend who recently passed away. Eli Manning was just the worst quarterback version of Jim Marshall, the Iron Man who had great, like Jim Marshall was probably a better defensive end than Eli Manning was quarterback. And Eli had those. If the Vikings win a couple Super Bowls, Purple People Eaters, Jim Marshall's in the Hall of Fame. Like that's
the Purple People Eaters have like their whole wing in the Hall of Fame.
An entire. Yeah, you're right. They would have an entire wing. But that's what winning does. That's what it does for these guys. There was something that you just said that I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember what it was. It's probably something brilliant, but it slipped my mind. All right, so it was what's the worst thing for Mahomes and Burrow, Lamar, Allen as they have this legacy battle. JJ McCarthy's knee is healthy. Like that's the worst thing for them. I mean, can you imagine that? They all have to deal with each other. They get to the Super Bowl and they're going to have to look JJ McCarthy in the eye now and just oh my gosh. Talk about big game quarterback. That is JJ McCarthy right there. It's a bad time to be an NFL legacy builder when JJ McCarthy's in the league. I'll tell you that.
It's funny, I think about this sometimes, just how much in sports comes down to timing. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, assume they get to play the way they could, like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. There were plenty of times in NFL history where they would have been good enough to make it. But if you're against the best and you don't beat them, that will always count against you. I mean, everybody knows the story of Poo-Poo, right?
No, who is Poo-Poo?
I can't believe you don't know who Poo-Poo is. Ramon Pulidor. the great French cyclist.
Here we go. Come on.
He had the great misfortune of having to face Jacques Anquetil.
You can't even say his name.
Jacques Anquetil and Eddie Merckx in their primes. I mean, it's a guy who earned the nickname the Eternal Second. Because the Tour de France, he was in second 3 times and third place 5 times. Never put on the yellow jersey. I mean, his grandson put on the yellow jersey. Like, I'm living on my grandfather's greatest dreams.
Man,
that was his nickname,
crazy.
The Eternal Second. And it's like so many eras. If you come in second or third 8 times in a competition, like Jim Kelly, right, makes the Super Bowl 4 times. Imagine making the Super Bowl 8 times and wins 0. Yeah, like at a certain point, you were very, very, very good. Like you were unbelievably good, but it was just terrible timing and terrible luck. It's the same deal, man. You have to beat who you're up against at the current time. Is it fair? No, but it is what it is.
You just in that moment gave me an unbelievable draft idea that we'll have to do next episode. And wow, this will be good. Okay. I don't want to build up expectations too much, but I like this. All right. We got a couple more things in today's show. I do just want to get something very quickly off my chest because I saw it and it really, really bothered me this morning. ESPN had their all-quarter century NFL team. And man, we really are sticking on the all-time rankings theme today.
It's the offseason. This is what you do during the offseason.
They had the running backs, again, all quarter century, so 2000 on. And the running backs, number 1 was Priest Holmes, which Priest Holmes, great running back, but
NFL street legend Priest Holmes.
But come on. Then it was McCaffrey, and then Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, you go look at Derrick Henry's stats. I mean, that's insane.
Surely that's because they didn't want to put Adrian Peterson in because of his character, right? It's the reason why nobody says Karl Malone's the best NBA player in history without a ring, even though it's true.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if that was the reason.
Priest Holmes is outrageous. And the explanation they give is that his DYAR was really, really good.
Can you explain that for?
I have no idea.
Do you even know what that is?
It's their proprietary formula for figuring out running back value.
Yeah, they
say he had some really, really good seasons, and it's true.
They said his peak was higher.
Christian McCaffrey, he was able to have 4.7 yards per carry in the 49ers offense. You get Derrick Henry. He had more yards per carry than Adrian Peterson.
Dude,
Peterson didn't have those yards per carry because he had to play with Christian Ponder throwing 30 yards.
We actually haven't even talked about this. This is exact. I'm looking at this list and I'm going, and LaDainian Tomlinson was their next guy out. LaDainian Tomlinson also should have been on that list, by the way. Like McCaffrey, I'm sorry, no place on the quarter century team. McCaffrey's played 3 out these seasons. Like he's very good. He's an amazing running back. Quarter century team. Peterson has 15,000 rushing yards.
Yeah, this list, I mean, they were very clear that they were only considering peak to a certain extent.
Dude.
I don't care. They say that they want to reward longevity. I'm sorry, you are not rewarding longevity. If the guy who won MVP in 2012, this wasn't one of those like this wasn't a place kicker winning MVP in a strike shortened season. Adrian Peterson was a 3-time rushing yards leader, a 2-time rushing touchdown leader, 7 All-Pro teams, Offensive Rookie of the Year, MVP.
Preach, Ziggy.
Like 300 rushing yards in a game, basically. I'm counting 296 as 300. I'm rounding up.
Yeah, they should have given that to him.
And Adrian Peterson somehow, I mean, his seasons with the Commanders in like 2018 were better than the average Christian McCaffrey season. Because the average Christian McCaffrey season, he plays 3 games.
What I hope everyone can appreciate here is, I don't even know if I sent you a link to this. I can't remember, but like, we have not discussed this at all. we have not talked about this.
Do you know how many yards per carry Adrian Peterson had in that MVP season? He had 350 carries.
Yeah, I can't do that.
So you can probably figure out from that. But
yeah, what do you have, 5.5 or something like that?
6.
Yeah, 6. Like it's
SIX 6. I'm sorry, I don't want to hear his rookie season. He averaged 5.6. Like this guy.
The thing with Peterson,
he was not a volume merchant.
No, the thing with Peterson that I think, especially if you're talking peaks, because the list should be Peterson, Tomlinson, and Henry. That's what the list should be.
Yeah.
And Peters, if you're talking peaks as well, the year Adrian ran for 2,000 yards or almost 2,100 yards, this was the Vikings' end of season lineup. Christian Ponder, Peterson, Jerome Simpson, we had traded Percy Harvin, Michael Jenkins, and then fill in the blank between Stephen Burton, Jarius Wright, and Devin Aromashodu. I mean, like, no. And Rudolph was a rookie. So it's like, I used to watch those games, and I mean, Ponder would have 70 yards, and Adrian would have 250. It's like there is no, that team made the playoffs. That team made the playoffs that I just read. All right, we don't have to get into it anymore, but I just want to say I thought that list, I don't even need to talk about the rest of it. That list was so bad for the running backs. Sickening. Okay.
No, I mean, it was tough. There were a lot of complaints. And what's weird is I didn't feel like the other positions were nearly as bad.
No, they weren't. That was just like, I saw Priest Holmes and my jaw dropped. I was like, I like Priest Holmes.
That felt like clickbait. I mean, no, Priest Holmes, he is a player who is often forgotten about, and he deserves a lot of credit.
Clearly not from who wrote that article. Clearly not from whoever that was.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about a guy who, I mean, again, with the Chiefs, after he left the Ravens, he had 3 incredible years. But I don't want to hear about a guy who made 3 All-Pro teams being the best running back of the past 25 years.
Yeah, Aaron Schatz and Seth Walder certainly were paying attention to 01 to 04 Priest Holmes. Perhaps they remember that more than most. Okay, we can wrap up. We'll briefly touch on this. Do you want to do the ed policy stuff?
No, but I'll tell you what, if you're willing to play along, I've got a game or my top 10 list actually fits this show's theme perfectly. And you producers that can get it.
Oh, okay. I also have a top 10. Wait. So do you want to not do the policy?
No, that one's good. That one, we can do the policy stuff if you want. We should save the other top 10 list for Jack. That one will be good. This one, I'm telling you, it fits the show perfectly.
Okay. All right. So we'll hit policy.
You will look and think it is as if I knew what this show was going to be about.
This is how you see the live producing of the show. Okay. Quickly on so ed policy's taken over as the Packers president on July 25th at the Packers annual shareholders meeting. It's kind of cool. You know, the Packers have this mandatory retirement age of 70 for the team president. So Mark Murphy's going to be 70, or he might even be 70 at this point. And he has to step down. So ed policy's going to take over. And with that happening, you know, your team president changes. You could see some changes. The Packers are a very consistent franchise. They have this thing down pat. They know how to run a football team better than most.
He did say maybe the stupidest thing I've ever heard about Green Bay, though.
What?
He said that Green Bay was his Shangri-La. I'm sorry. You can say you like Green Bay. There is nothing about Green Bay. I mean, we've been to Green Bay now. There is nothing about Green Bay that screams Himalayan monastic utopia.
I didn't hear that quote. I don't know what he's talking. Right, so maybe the Packers might be screwed. That could be the take where they have a lunatic in charge here. But jokes aside, he said the 3 goals were 1, win football games. I think that's a good goal. 2, and it caused a little bit of a stir online, keep the Packers in Green Bay. They're not going anywhere. That's just, he was talking to you. Like the order of things that could happen.
I actually think that should probably be number 1.
Yeah, that probably would
be priority.
If that is, that can't actually be a priority.
I'm curious, Packers fans, if the Packers left Green Bay, right? Say they go to where are people in expansion teams? Mexico City, Seattle.
Vegas. Sorry, London.
Yeah, Vegas. Yeah, they go international. The Seahawks move to Oklahoma City, and the Packers go to Seattle. Whatever. Would you be rooting for the Packers? Would you be excited if Jordan Love wins a Super Bowl as the Oklahoma City Packers?
I don't think if the Vikings moved, I think it would change everything. Like that's your team, and that's it shouldn't be a. It's weird that it is a priority. It should be a priority, but it's weird that's on the list. But nothing's changing. Like the NFL will, right before the NFL shuts down, the Packers will leave Green Bay. The people just won't let that happen. And the last one was strengthen the community, which is a very wholesome answer from ed policy.
It's unclear what that means, but
yeah. So it really did. It did seem like someone handed him a slip of paper and was like, read these 3 things. briefly here, he did say regarding Brian Gutekunst, regarding Matt LaFleur, talking about their standing right now, and Russ Ball, the vice president, director of football operations in Green Bay. His quote was, "All three of them are under multi-year contracts. None of them are up at the end of the year. We won't be doing anything going into this season." He did say, "I'm generally opposed to a coach or GM going into the last year of their contract. That creates a lot of issues. I think normally you have a pretty good idea where that relationship is going when you have 2 years left. Not always, but normally." So regarding that comment there, some people start talking about like, oh, could LaFleur and Gutekunst be on the hot seat? And like, really, the answer is basically no. Now, if the Packers come out and have a stinker of a season, things change quickly in the NFL, as we know. It's a week-to-week league. They win 5 games. Heads could roll. Like if we're being blunt, heads could roll in Green Bay if they win 5 games. Like that would be a enormous disappointment. But if expectations become reality, this team should win double-digit games and go back to the playoffs. No one's getting fired. They're going to get their extension going into next season, and it should be fine. You can have a conversation about, okay, like how much pressure are the Packers? We talked about this. How much pressure are the Packers on to win this year? These statements don't change anything. Jordan Love and Green Bay have Super Bowl expectations because they're the Green Bay Packers and they're in the business of winning Super Bowls, and their team is really good. Like I said a couple months ago, I think the Super Bowl expectations might be a little much given that they haven't even been to a championship game. But that's kind of what it is in Green Bay. Like that's what they expect to do. They expect to be competing for the Super Bowl. And I think that's fair. To expect to just win it is a little crazy. But that doesn't change because that policy says Brian Gutekunst and LaFleur don't have contracts coming. Don't have a contract extension going into this season. Like that won't change at all.
But there is an interesting question here. I don't think that LaFleur and Gutekunst's fates are necessarily connected. Because I think if you look at what's actually happened, I think that LaFleur has done a much better job than Gutekunst. Here's what I mean. I know Packers fans sometimes get upset with LaFleur, and there are things to be upset about. This man had the youngest team in the NFL back-to-back years. He took them to the playoffs back-to-back years. You go back the past 15 years of youngest teams in the NFL, other than the Packers, not a single one of them made the playoffs. Only Green Bay. He handled Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers leaving, and Jordan Love, you can say, well, Gutekunst made the draft pick. You can pick quarterbacks all you want. You need great coaching to get quarterbacks to reach their potential. And whether or not you like the extension Jordan Love signed, they've done a very good job, much better than the average. What was he, the 4th quarterback taken in his own draft, the 5th quarterback taken?
4, yeah.
He is 4, right? Yeah, much better than the average 4th quarterback taken in their draft. LaFleur, I think, has done a great job coaching this team. He's been aware of his own blind spots and has done his best to try and hire people to do it. People love him in the building. Gutekunst, I'm less sure about. I think he's done a great job building a competitive team, but at a certain point, the first round misses add up. The fact they don't make the free agent additions at the key positions add up. Now, you can say they're being cautious and being reserved, and that's how smart organizations operate. But there is a risk, I think, that Gutekunst makes them the Green Bay Steelers. Right? They're always very good. There's always a couple glaring positional needs that don't quite get addressed. They've got their way of doing things, and that's it. And it never results in a Super Bowl. Green Bay is not going to be sad. Now, I think that's a doomsday scenario.
Yes.
I don't think that he's on the hot seat. But if you're asking who of them is more secure, I would be flabbergasted if LaFleur doesn't get an extension next year.
Me too. Stunned. Totally blown away.
I can see a world where they say Gutekunst, if they identify somebody they think would do a better job. I think there are many more available GMs who would be better than Gutekunst, and there are coaches who would be better than LaFleur.
In a world where they disappoint and the pass rush is just horrible, and maybe Matthew Golden flops, and these issues that needed to be addressed are that really weren't, other than Golden at receiver, but these areas of need that weren't addressed become a glaring problem, then maybe that conversation starts. I'd be really surprised. Like, as you said, I'd be really surprised if Gutekunst and LaFleur are not given extensions. But yeah, that is that's the doomsday scenario, which, by the way, some of the Avengers doomsday photos are starting to leak. I'm getting kind of excited for that, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, the Packers, I don't think there's anything too much to worry about here. I don't think there's anything to worry about, but
the Packers as an organization, I mean, you could have prime Bill Belichick and whoever you want to see. You could have the best front office and the best coach in the history of football. They would not extend them 2 years out. That's just not how. The Packers are one of those teams where they have a way of doing business and they basically never deviate.
Well, that's why
it's good. There's nothing here.
That's why, they the same way they handle their players, same way that they move on from Favre and Rodgers. Like they have their philosophy and they stick to it. And you know what? They've been very successful with that. In policy, one other quote he had there, I'm not looking at it, so I'm going to loosely paraphrase it here. He was just saying like his job is to, give these guys the resources to do their jobs. They don't have 2 GMs. They don't have 2 coaches. But then ultimately, and I thought that this was a pretty resounding quote, hold them accountable. And that to me was the one phrase he said. I was like, okay, he's not I don't know. It just came off weird to me. I know that he's saying that's his job, which it is, but that was just a little bit of a weird, like, all right. It was not a calling out of LaFleur and Gutekunst, but Gutekunst said sense of urgency needs to be picked up. Like there's definitely something in the water in Green Bay where like, all right, we can't fall into this rut. And that's why this season does have a little added weight to it. It's because now it feels like this is the time. At least the time to make some serious playoff noise. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it was certainly some memorable quotes out of that press conference there. All right, what's your game here? Let's wrap this thing up because producer Zach needs to go to sleep.
Can we get producer Zach on the screen because we need 2 people doing this? So we've been talking a lot about legacy and about winning games. Winning is important.
Yeah, winning matters.
I've got a list here:
Winning's
football,
hard.
basketball, baseball. The 10 winningest regular season franchises in history. I excluded hockey because hockey's weird. Like the Vegas Golden Knights are weird. I didn't know what to do there. All NFL teams, all MLB teams, all NBA teams. Up to date as of the conclusion of the NBA regular season. The 10 winningest franchises of all time, regular season.
Good Lord. All right. The
Yankees,
I imagine they are in there, but they had a pretty horrendous stretch for a while, but they have just won forever. Yeah, it's got Yankees.
Yankees coming at number 7 at 570.
Steelers.
The Steelers, unfortunately, are not on the list. They were on it a couple years ago and they dropped out.
Wow, that's shocking to me. What football teams are going to be there, Zach? The Packers are probably. I mean, the Vikings have a very good regular season.
Are the Dolphins on there with Shula?
No, they've been, no offense, but they've been doing a lot of losing.
I know they've done a lot of losing, but like
for a while here.
But didn't Shula have like a crazy 300 and something wins before he retired?
I would be.
Yeah,
Ziggy, just give us a freebie here. The Dolphins are not on the list, right?
Are you guessing the Dolphins?
No, we're not.
No. They're on the list. I mean, maybe you're starting to make me think.
You might want to guess the Dolphins.
Are you serious? Dolphins?
The Miami Dolphins come in at number 10.
Wow, hey, Zach. Well done, Zach.
I thought this was going to be a repeat of the Moose Tracks incident.
No, I learned better than doubting Zach. He talked me into that.
The Miami Dolphins won so many games for so long.
I can't believe that they're
had some bad years, but in recent years the gap separating NFL teams, like the NFL list changes every year. The Dolphins have had a few good years recently.
Dude, they have been so bad. Like 2000 to 2000, like they were
2008.
They went 1-15.
Yeah,
I can't believe
the NFL has been around a long time.
Yeah, okay.
It's the Shula.
I'm starting to. The Packers have to be on this list. I think. I'm gonna go.
The Packers come in at number 6, 572.
Okay, the Packers are there.
So you got 6, 7, and 10.
Can we get
there's a few freebies here. You should get the freebies out of the way.
Can we get the how many? NBA?
Go to the NBA. You know, there's some NBA freebies.
There's got the Celtics.
Celtics are number 1 at 596. They've won almost 60% of the regular season games.
The Lakers.
Number 3 at 592.
The Bulls.
Bulls.
I'll say this, you're probably out of freebies in the NBA.
Yeah, I think
there's one more NBA team here. I would not consider it a freebie. It's not a team that will surprise you, though.
One more NBA team. We can hold off on that for a second. So, and you said hockey too, right?
Hockey is off the list. There are no hockey.
Oh, okay,
teams.
Good. I was going to say
hockey was too weird.
I have no
Vegas
idea.
was in there. Montreal was number 2.
MLB. I think the Cardinals have won a lot. Trying to think of other. I like baseball.
You know what? I'll help you out. There's no other MLB teams on the list.
Oh.
There's too many games and teams lose too much.
Okay, yeah. All right, cool. So football
It's
then.
only the Yankees.
Okay, so we have one NBA team left, and then we have 4 NFL teams.
That's correct.
Okay, I think the Cowboys probably.
The Cowboys are number 5 at 573.
So you got Dallas. All right. What's the other NBA team? You said the Bulls. Who else? The Warriors.
Nuggets. Were the Nuggets ever good?
Yeah, they're good teams, but I don't think that they belong in that. I'm trying to think who else. Sixers have had some good teams over the years. It could be the. Have we said the team name?
No.
Okay. I guess that's a major hint. So
It is an enormous hint, but you asked for it.
yeah. All right. We haven't said the team name.
Knicks.
No, I can't.
I'm surprised you haven't said the team name.
I'm trying to think of. Did we say the Warriors?
No, we did. We did say the Warriors. Oh. Spurs.
At number 2, it's the San Antonio Spurs, 592.
Yeah.
They haven't been around for as long as some of those other teams.
Only win.
Yeah, I mean that run from they first came into the NBA in 1976, and that run from 1999 to 2017, they basically only won.
So regular season, I'm going to say the Vikings.
Vikings are number 11.
Oh man.
Paul's just out here losing our lives for us.
So who else do we need here? We have the Packers. We have the.
Did we say the Patriots?
Cowboy. Oh, yeah, Patriots is a good one. No. We take that back.
You haven't guessed it, so
we take that back.
Do you want to guess the Patriots?
No, we'll take that back. I'm going to go with the.
That's kind of shocking to me.
The Ravens.
The Ravens are number 4. They're the highest NFL team at 574.
They only win. Who is the other one I just had on the top of my head?
So you just got 8 and 9 left, right?
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about
this
the
one's
teams.
tough. These 2 teams have the same 3-digit win, like going up to 3 decimal points, the same win percentage as the Dolphins. This fluctuates all the time. One of them will not shock you. One of them will shock you.
I kind of
Chiefs.
No, I kind of the Giants are in there. Could the Giants be in there?
Colts.
I'm thinking like the. I don't think the Colts. Could the Bears be in there? Like that's what I'm wondering. Like, could the Bears, 49ers? I'm between the Bears, Giants, and 49ers. Well, I don't know what's going on here. I'm between the Bears.
No one listens to producer Zach, man. No one listens to producer Zach.
What?
No
Which one? The Colts?
No, I think you
Make your guess, Paul.
Who'd you say? You go ahead. Take this one.
I think I said the Chiefs.
Oh, Chiefs?
The Chiefs are number 8 at 553. So you just got to get between that Chiefs and the Dolphins here.
Can
There's
I ask,
one team?
I'm going to ask you one more time. Is it one of the 49ers, Bears, or Giants?
Yes.
It has to be, right? Okay. Are all of those in the top 15?
No.
Okay. Let's think through this, Zach. The Giants had some good teams in the 80s and 90s, but man, they do a lot. They've done a lot of losing lately. I just don't know. The Bears won a lot of games early on, and the 49ers, what they have 5 Super Bowls here. I don't know how long is when did San Francisco, what was their inaugural season?
I'll tell you this, one of the three teams is way, way above the other two.
One of the three is way above in regular season too.
49ers.
So I was gonna say the Bears.
The Bears it is.
But I don't.
The Bears it is.
Like the Bears. The Bears have had some really bad years, but
I'm just trying to think. It's probably the Giants. We're both going with the two different ones, and the Giants.
I'm trying to think of lists of but the 49ers are just such a successful blue blood team. I thought I saw something. I think it might be the Bears. I thought I saw something with the Bears being better than the Vikings in this regard. All right, the Bears.
I'll live or die with that.
At number 9 with 553, it is not the Giants. The Giants are at 522. Neither is it the 49ers, who are at 545. It is the Chicago Bears.
Let's go. Well done, Zach.
Bear down.
Well done. That was
with Jack probably would have thrown out Jack would have thrown out the Steelers and pounded the table for it, and then you would have failed.
Well, I guess Steelers already.
Yeah,
they were. Wait,
Jack would have thrown out the Detroit Lions.
Who else was in that 11 to 20? Who were the next? Do you have the other?
The Vikings were right there. The Patriots were right there.
That's shocking.
I'm pulling up my list here. I only wrote down. I only wrote down.
Yeah, went for 20 years. But they were really, really bad for a long time.
I guess.
And that, but I mean, you think 20 years of being great,
the Thunder are right there. The Suns are right there.
The Thunder were on my. Are they counting Seattle? Or are they just counting as OKC?
No, they're only counting OKC.
Oh yeah, but yeah, you're right. There's just so many games though. If you normally, it's not that crazy.
I just did the math. Wow. If they won 12 games for 20 years, it's only 240 games.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, the thing is, this is the thing with the Bears, right? They won so much so early in the NFL's history. It takes so long to overcome that.
Yeah. There's not enough games to, and you'd have to be really. And they've had the Bears. I know we all make fun of them for losing all the time, but Bears have had some really good teams, or they've had teams that they've been to a Super Bowl more recently than the Vikings. They've 13-3 a couple of years ago. They have some winning seasons out of nowhere. All right, we'll wrap it up there.
They've won 186 games since they were 186 and 218 since 2000.
Yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up there. That was a fun show. A little bit of the legacy conversations. Those are always entertaining. I hope for the listener. So if you enjoyed this, please let us know. Yeah, if you like these sorts of conversations, let us know. And we could do more of them. I think it's to me, I find it fun.
Name your player that you think should have gotten a ring that didn't get a ring.
Oh, your number one player without a ring?
Yeah.
Maybe even your own personal favorite. Yeah, not necessarily the best. It really is unfortunate that Adrian Peterson has all these things because he was my guy growing up, man.
I know what Packer deserved the ring more than any other. It's not people are going to say Amon Green or Sterling Sharp. Those are going to be number 2. You know who I think deserved the ring more than any other?
Wait.
Jordy Nelson.
I would say, what the hell was his name? Who was the running back? Who's the running back who went to Bosco?
It's no running back.
Ryan Grant.
No,
did he win? He might.
It is Bubba Franks.
Oh gosh, Bubba Franks. Yeah.
Did Jordy Nelson win a ring with? Was he on the?
I think he was on the Super Bowl team.
Yes,
with Jennings and Donald Driver was on that team, right? I think. I believe he was. I think he's young Jordy Nelson too.
Wait, Lightning.
Jordy Nelson's not in the Packers Hall of Fame if he doesn't win a Super Bowl with them. Legacy,
maybe. He was really good. He was a pain in the ass. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll see you guys next week for another episode.